All the Blues do is win, no matter what. Let's talk about it here on Locked On Blues.
Hey, this is Brayden Chen.
Subscribe to Locked On Blues.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to Locked On Blues. I am your host of Locked On Blues, Haley Taylor Simon, talking to you all things about our St. Louis Blues here in the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today on Locked On Blues, another fun episode because the Blues now have 11 wins in a row after taking down the Penguins in overtime last night with a 5-4 victory. The Blues are the best team in hockey post-break. I'm having the time of my life watching this team. And of course, my favorite Friday segment, Are We Feeling Blue? We're going to be hearing from Patrick from Locked On Penguins today as he's going to give us his thoughts on the game. But we have a lot to get into on today's episode, a victory Friday for all of us here in St. Louis. But today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. I have to tell you, 11 wins in a row is insane. The last time the St. Louis Blues team lost was March 22nd as the team fell to the Penguins after falling in overtime to the LA Kings. The Blues now have a 17-2-2 record post-break, which is insane as it is. I do want to give a little bit of an injury update because Dylan Holloway did leave the game yesterday. He is going to be out for the next couple of games. Holloway is still at the doctors being evaluated. But the good thing is that there doesn't seem to be too much concern about him being out for an extended period of time. So just wanted to give you a little bit of a Dylan Holloway injury update. So wishing Holloway all the best. But last night's game, I was a little bit nervous about. I did join Hunter and Patrick of Locked On Penguins prior to puck drop. And I said, I was very honest and transparent. For whatever reason, the Penguins make me a little bit nervous due to the fact that that was the last time that the Blues lost, and they did not play a good game against the Pittsburgh Penguins. But luckily, the Blues were able to get the job done in extra minutes as the Penguins, with an extra man on ice, since they pulled their goalie, were able to tie up the game. It happens. Listen, we've talked about it here before in Locked On Blues, that is something that St. Louis really needs to work on, is not allowing goals within the last minute of play. We saw that numerous times this season. It drives me absolutely crazy, but this team was able to win it in overtime, and I believe it's now 3 overtime wins on this 11-game win streak. But the beauty of last night's win came from my favorite player, Robert Thomas. Tomer did score the overtime winning goal, the 5th goal of the game. And it's so symbolic to me because the last time the Blues had 11 straight wins was in that 2018-2019 season. And Robert Thomas was a rookie that season. So was Jordan Binnington. And I think for me with Robert Thomas, and this is something that I continuously talk about, he is such a good playmaker. And we talk about that here on Locked On Blues, what Robert Thomas is able to do on the ice. However, he doesn't always, take the shot on net. He doesn't always do that. And that's something, not that it bothers me. Obviously, I want him to be able to make good plays. But I do like to see him taking those moments to really showcase his own talents when it comes to scoring. So for me, I was really impressed last night with what he did. And Robert Thomas is now up to 20 goals on the season, which is great. Last season, Tomer did have 26 goals. However, I'm happy with 20. As long as it's above 20, that's a win for me. And 51 assists. Last season, Robert Thomas had 60 assists. So 9 away from what his assist record would be. But again, he is still playing phenomenal hockey. And Tomer, by the way, is plus 16 so far this season. The most impressive part about last night's game came from the resilience of the team. You're without Colton Parayko. You're without Dylan Holloway after he exited the game. And there was moments where I was really concerned. In the first frame, as it was, the Blues only had 4 shots on goal. That's not the St. Louis team that I know. And I think that with all the odds against the Blues, sometimes that's when they really persevere and showcase how talented of a team they truly are. Because I'm going to be honest with you, they had everything going against them. I mean, I look at the first frame, right? And Brian Russ was able to make it a 1-0 game. I kind of had a feeling that the Penguins were going to score. I did not expect it to be as early as it was. I believe it was only 3 minutes into the contest. But luckily, in the second frame, 39 seconds in, my boy, Jakey Neighbors, was able to score. Fed to him by Robert Thomas and Broberg with the secondary, tying up the game. However, in good old Blues fashion, well, you can't have much nice for much or long or whatever that saying goes, because the Penguins were able to score. But luckily, after that, the Penguins made it 2-1. Bushi was able to score with a great feed from Nathan Walker. And then Jordan Kyrou with his 33rd goal of this season with a great assist from Cam Fowler, who's now, I have to tell you, one of my players of the season. Fowler, by the way, with 26 assists on the season so far. So the Blues were leading 3-2 after the first 20. In the final frame, Jake Neighbors scored his second goal. So yes, he was on hat trick watch, but it was a great feed and a great play from the rookie Snuggie. And again, Snugs, I have to tell you, he could have taken that shot by himself, but instead he gave it to Jake, and it just goes to show how good of a playmaker he really is. The Penguins, however, were able to get 2 goals. As I did mention, that last goal came within the last 30 seconds. But luckily, Robert Thomas scored. Well, I didn't even tell you this. Yeah, there was a power play last night. I believe it was like hooking in overtime. So I was doing my dance. I'm sitting in my room watching the game, and I'm like, yeah, like that's me. If you're watching on YouTube, you already know what I'm doing. So the Blues won, and it was such a great, monumentous moment. I was so excited. I think after the game the Blues had against the Red Wings, where they won, that beautiful, beautiful overtime goal by Cam Fowler, I was on just such like an adrenaline rush watching this team. When you think the Blues are out, when you think that they're not going to be able to win, they do exactly the opposite. So my thoughts on the game last night, hey, listen, I can't complain. At some point, this team is going to lose a hockey game, and that's just the inevitable. But right now, 11 straight wins. They're without Colton Parayko still. They lost Dylan Holloway. So I feel like people that are criticizing the Blues or critiquing them because they beat a team that they consider to be an easy team to beat, they're wrong. Has your team won 11 straight games? And the answer is no, because the longest winning streak in the NHL this season, besides the Blues' 11, was the Winnipeg Jets with 10. So the answer is no. So in that case, you have no room to talk. But somebody that I do like to have talk, and I couldn't get him on last night, but I was able to get him on now, just kind of summarizing the game, is Patrick from Locked On Penguins. Take a listen.
Hey, Haley and Locked On Blues listeners. This is Patrick Damp from the Locked On Penguins podcast. What a game last night in St. Louis. St. Louis gets their 11th win in a row with a 5-4 overtime victory over our Pittsburgh Penguins, unfortunately. But the story for us here in Pittsburgh is the play of 2 of our top prospects last night, Rutger McGroarty and Ville Koivunen. Rutger McGroarty ties the game late during the 6-on-5 situation, getting his first National Hockey League goal, and what a moment to get that goal. And it is assisted by Koivunen, his first NHL point. So huge for us. But I hope you guys in St. Louis are queuing up Gloria, because the 2019 vibes are very strong. Great game last night between these 2 teams, and we will talk again soon.
Thank you again, Patrick. And I do like to have other people from the other shows kind of chime in and give me their thoughts, because yes, Penguins amongst one of the bottom teams this season, but again, their rookie/prospects did have a great game last night. And they put up a good fight. I will give the Penguins that. They played a good game against this dominant St. Louis Blues team. Speaking of dominance, I'm going to talk to you exactly why I am so proud of this team and why this team is the best team in hockey with a 17-2-2 record post-break. But before I do that, I have a lot of friends, and a friend that I love and a friend that I kind of may be taking right now is 5 Hour Energy. Daylight savings snuck up on us again. And if you're feeling that lost hour of sleep, 5 Hour Energy has your back. The extra sunshine means more time for fun, but sometimes you need a little boost to power through. Whenever you're staying up late, watching the NCAA tournament, St. Louis Blues hockey, okay? You need 5 Hour Energy. It gives you that quick, refreshing pick-me-up whenever you need it. Head to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from, including watermelon, blue raspberry, and peach mango. Blue raspberry is my favorite, by the way. You can even build your own 12-pack or 24-pack delivered right to your door. Need one now? Grab a 5 Hour Energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store. They're everywhere. Stock up today and stay energized. The St. Louis Blues are the best team in hockey right now. The hottest team, the most dominant team, the most fun team, if I'm being completely honest and a little bit slightly biased. But the story of the Blues this season really has a lot of parallels to 2018-19 season. Let's break it down. New coaching change. Okay, again, similarities. One of the bottom teams of the NHL. I know the Blues in 2018-2019 were worse than the Blues this season in terms of where they were at in January. But don't forget, the Blues were a bottom seven team. Yeah, that's right. They were bottom 7 only a couple months ago. So just, similar, right? Okay. Then the 11-game win streak. I can't believe it. Like, it just feels like 2019 all over again. And last night, I can't obviously post, me playing Gloria because of copyright reasons, but I was playing Gloria. And it just seems like the magic is back. I don't know what it is, and I don't know why it happened all of a sudden, but I have to give Coach Jim Montgomery all of his credit. And I do believe that he is going to be a finalist for the Jack Adams Award, because that's how good of a coach I believe Coach Montgomery is. And no, I'm not comparing Coach Montgomery to Craig Berube. I'm just saying that there was a coaching change, right? And the same thing happened back in that cup winning season. But 11 games in a row for the St. Louis Blues, they overtake that wild card 1 spot. Magic number is at 8. So Blues News and a bunch of other Blues stat people that I like to follow put out essentially what needs to happen. The Blues, and this is like the minimum of what needs to happen, right? Or just hear me out. Blues win 2 games. Calgary loses 2 games. Blues are 100% locked in. There's a 96% chance, according to Money Puck, that the Blues make the playoffs. And I just want you to just take a moment and think about where you saw this team going a few months ago before the break. Before the Four Nations face-off, we were talking here in Locked On Blues about how disappointing of a season this was, about how it's going to be 3 consecutive seasons of the Blues not making the playoffs. And the last time this happened was in 2005 to 2008. The Blues are amongst one of the most teams in the NHL to always make a playoff appearance. They've only missed the playoffs a few times since they've been in the league. And if you think about it like that, it's a crazy statistic. And it's a fact that I always like to tell my hockey friends, the Blues are actually one of the teams that have been in the playoffs the most. And they're like, what? I'm like, well, yeah, it was a first round exit most of the years, but they were still in the playoffs. But I do believe right now that this team is going to chase the Stanley Cup, and as they should. They have all this momentum, and besides the momentum, they have talent. You're looking at getting Colton Parayko back before the playoffs, and I know that sounds insane because we even talked about, we're going to see Colton Parayko next season. Well, Parayko's been on the ice for weeks now during different skates, and I do believe that he is recovering a lot faster than maybe others anticipated. And this, to me, is a really positive and good situation for the Blues because, again, Parayko is probably the best defenseman on this team, even though I have to say right now, Cam Fowler is blowing my mind. Even Ryan Suter. I have to give Ryan Suter his credit, okay? I'm a big fan of Suits. But right now, this team just looks unstoppable. You have a great goalie tandem going on right now with Jordan Binnington, obviously the 1A, and then Joel Hofer, the 1B. But even Hofs last night, he just looked so solid in net. Sure, it was a little bit frustrating, some of the goals that were let in, absolutely, but it happens. I mean, this team hasn't allowed that many goals in net since their insane 17-2-2 record post-break, and especially during this 11-game win streak. I believe last night's game was the most goals that they allowed in net in a long time. So, again, it is what it is. I'm happy that this team won. And I wasn't expecting the Blues, by the way, to win 11 in a row. So for me, anything that happens now, I'm just like sitting back and relaxing and I'm just enjoying it. I'm soaking it all in because Enterprise looks absolutely electric. And I think it sunk into me today. I woke up and it just hit me. We're going to see playoff hockey in St. Louis. And that is something that I was really not expecting this season. Now, before the season began, and somebody actually, one of my everydayers, made a comment and said, hey, before the season, you said that the Blues were going to have 90 plus wins and that they were going to be wild card too. So you were the one person that really was, believing in the beginning of the season. I'm sure others believe too, but that's what they said. I would like to say I was wrong because they're not going to be the wild card too. I believe that this team is going to finish as the wild card 1. And right now they're at 91 points. They could very well end the season at maybe 95, maybe more, but I was not expecting this from the Blues. And I feel like bad in a way because I was so negative before the break. And I didn't have much faith that they would come back from the break and be this dominant. And a part of me thinks, well, why was I so negative? But I have to remember that this team wasn't able to even get 3 wins in a row. They weren't able to do that. So I can't beat myself up too much over my negativity. I think it just came from a place of frustration. I mean, the Blues didn't make any moves at the deadline. And I was like, what is Doug Armstrong doing? Because this is not a playoff team. This team hasn't showed me that they could be a playoff team. And I have to give Doug Armstrong his props, his credit, because he believed in this team and he knew that they were capable of playing this type of hockey. I knew individually that all these players are, great athletes. And I talk about this all the time, how I'm so sick of certain players not getting the recognition by the national media, such as a Jordan Kyrou, Robert Thomas, even a Binnington, Parayko, Holloway. And I get so flustered and frustrated because I feel like these are some of the most talented players in the NHL during this stretch. But I guess the big focus is on Alexander Ovechkin beating their Great Ones record. So I get it. I'm not upset. I'm not comparing Robert Thomas to Ovechkin. I'm just saying that this team is doing something unbelievable. But now all I'm seeing is posts about the Blues. I'm seeing, ESPN, TNT, like NHL Network, even this company's national show talking about the Blues. And I'm like, wow, everybody's talking about the Blues. And I think that right now they really are playing as their, the best team, the 1 seed even. And I know that they're a wild card 1, but I want to just take a quick moment, right? Because I am somebody, as you know, that loves to look at my standings. And it's funny. I'm going to really miss doing this when the season ends because I'm having such a great time. I love seeing teams that get eliminated. By the way, the Canes are locked into the playoffs. No eliminations in the East. The Ducks did get eliminated last night. Anyways, when we look at the playoff picture, right? Obviously, St. Louis is wild card 1, LGB. Let's go Blues. Underneath the Blues is the Minnesota Wild with 89 points, 1 game in hand. The Flames, 84 points, 2 games in hand over the Blues. The Canucks, 81 points. And, Matt Hale, 3 games in hand. it's such a weird schedule. And then the Utah Hockey Club, 76 games played, 80 points. But at least to me, I feel like the Blues are safe. I mean, an 11-game win streak. The Dallas Stars have a 7-game win streak right now. But I just want to give a shout out, by the way, to the Boston Bruins, who are dead last in the Eastern Conference. They're in a 10-game losing streak. So how the tables have turned. But the St. Louis Blues, when I'm telling you, when the Blues go marching in, they go marching in, because this team right now is one of the best teams in the NHL. And I am so proud of the boys, and I'm so proud to be a Blues fan. My favorite segment of the week is coming up. But first, I'm going to tell you about my friends over at FanDuel. The NCAA tournament is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories, and even who's cutting down the nets. I have to tell you, I hate Duke. I'm not a fan of Duke. However, I do predict Duke to win the whole thing. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. I also want to point out my nails. These are my St. Louis Blues nails. I got the 3 stars. Get it? Because like the 3 stars of the game. Anywho, undefeated. So yeah, these nails are actually 11-0. But let's talk about my favorite Friday segment. Haley T. Simon, can you cue the music? Absolutely, Haley T. Simon. Let's do it. Are we feeling blue? So this was a great week for the St. Louis Blues, as they now have an 11-game win streak, tying a franchise record that they first got back in the 2018-2019 season. The Blues are 17-2-2 since that Four Nations face-off break, where a player like a Zachary Bolduc decided to go play with the T-Birds and get some reps in, and he came back up here to St. Louis with such more motivation and a better playing style. The Blues also featured some of their, prospect players, right? Their developmental guys like Dvorsky played, and then Snuggie played a couple games too. So huge night last night. Snuggs got his first NHL point, so a huge night. But anyways, the St. Louis Blues have 91 points on the season so far. They have the wild card one for now, and they continue to be the most dominant team in hockey. Right now, the St. Louis Blues look unstoppable, and it helps that they have great goalies such as Jordan Binnington and a Joel Hofer, and then they have guys like Robert Thomas, who scored last night's overtime winning goal with an assist from Jordan Kyrou, who has 33 goals on the season. Another player that has been huge for the Blues has been Cam Fowler. Fowler scored the overtime winning goal against Detroit a couple nights ago, and I have to tell you, that was one of the goals of the season. This Blues team continues to play hard, and this is a team that I do believe is going to go cup chasing. No matter who they play in the first round, whether it is the VGK or the Winnipeg Jets, and I would prefer the Jets over Vegas if I'm being completely honest with you, I feel like that Blues team that we're seeing on the ice now can beat both of them. I do believe that. I also want to say that there is a 20% chance, right, of the team who finishes top in their conference to go on and win the cup. So I'm just saying that the odds are kind of against Winnipeg, right? Because again, 20% chance of that's happening all time. That's my little fun fact of the day. I'm feeling great. Listen, life as a Blues fan, it's been rough lately. Well, not lately, but like in the past couple years. And right now, I'm having the time of my life. I love seeing all these other teams crumble, like the Canucks. And oh man, they complain a lot, by the way, in Vancouver. But even Calgary, like, it's really interesting to me, these teams that people really did, predict to have a cup kind of run that are just ending up crumbling. I mean, it's beautiful because the Blues finally are proving to every single NHL fan why they should be respected, why they're a good team and a competitive team. And the Boston Bruins, I'm sorry that you have a 10-game losing streak right now, and I know that you're probably down as it is, but how do you feel about firing Coach Montgomery now? I think that was a very bad decision. He's obviously happy here in St. Louis. I mean, he loves it here in St. Louis because he was here before in St. Louis. But that was the worst decision you could have made. I know plenty of Boston people, okay? I have friends that are Bruins fans. I remind them about the cup win all the time. And they still are upset about what was done. Edmonton, how do you feel about letting Holloway and Broberg go? Probably not good. Anaheim, thank you so much for Cam Fowler. We do appreciate it here in St. Louis. But again, just remember, even the players, even the coaches that you think are not going to help your team, we gladly took. And guess what? They helped our team. So I am feeling great. All right, I will talk to you this weekend. I'm going to do episodes probably every day because I'm so excited and I love talking about my St. Louis Blues. But on that note, on the blue note, I will talk to you later. And like always, let's go 17-2-2, wildcard 1, 91 points, 11-game winning streak, St. Louis Blues.